Hello, welcome everybody to the Tuesday call. We got people jumping in here live. I am excited to be here with you. Actually, it's a special day for me. It's our last day here in San Antonio before we head out on our East Coast road trip. And we're going to be gone for 2 months. So I'll be streaming to you guys live on the road. Next week, we will be in Orlando. So that'll be exciting. And so super excited to keep this thing going. And we got a good topic here today. We're going to be talking all about 6 ways to dominate your geographic farm. So if you are into trying to maximize your area and work either like a neighborhood, a zip code, whatever your geographic farm is, today's call is all for you. And we're going to be going over some stuff that I used personally when I was working my geographic farm here in San Antonio, Texas. So I'm excited to kind of share my thoughts, my insights with you. So I see a lot of people jumping in. So real quick, like we always do, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat where you guys are tuning in from. I want to see who's tuning in and where you guys are coming from. I wonder if I'm going to see you on my East Coast road trip. We've got a couple different spots that I'm going to be doing some events in. So we got something going on in Charleston on the 29th of June. So here in a couple weeks. And we're doing some stuff in Orlando here just next week. And I'm sure we'll be doing some other stuff too all along the road. We're going to be in DC. We're going to be in New Jersey, New York, New Hampshire, all the news. It sounds like we're going to be all the new places. We're going to be Rhode Island, Boston. So hopefully we'll get to see some of you guys along the way. But that being said, guys, all right, we got Lori. Hey, Lori from Venice, Florida. Nice. We got somebody tuning in here from San Antonio, Austin. Or we got Nicholas coming in from Houston, Texas. Looking forward to joining the team. I'm looking forward to having you on the team. All right. Let's go, guys. Well, very cool. Well, let's go ahead and just start right up, guys, and dive into our topic here today. So we are going to look at the 6 ways to dominate your geographic farm. So let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Here we go. So the first thing that you need to do for a geographic farm is to select the right area. And so what I mean by that, and let me kind of even take a step back and talk about a geographic farm and what it is and why you want to do it. But especially as a new agent, you're going to want to definitely consider working a geographic farm because we all have limited budgets, right? I mean, if money was no issue, we could, have billboards up and all the marketing, sending out postcards to the entire city. And we'd be top agent in the entire city, right? But that's not the way things work, right? Typically, especially when you're just getting started, you've got a limited budget. You got to work within your means. And so the more effective method is to identify a neighborhood or an area that you can saturate and work your marketing and your prospecting versus just trying to be sporadic, right? And just do everything all over the place. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to take like a listing if you get it from a friend or a buyer that wants to look somewhere else. You're still going to do all of that. But when we're talking about your marketing and prospecting efforts outside of just your general sphere of influence, you're going to focus your efforts into one really targeted area. And so when you do this, it allows you to make best use of your money and get the most amount of leads, really start to build your brand where you become known in an area. And so I'm going to talk about selecting the right area. Okay. Number one of the important things, or one of the questions I get asked a lot is, should my geographic farm be my neighborhood? Ideally, I mean, if you want it to be, if you're in a good neighborhood that, some of this stuff that we're about to talk about applies, then yes, I mean, that's a great idea. I wouldn't steer you away from it at all, but I also wouldn't say like it has to be. It could be outside of your exact neighborhood. If, for one reason or another, maybe you don't want to be known in your neighborhood. Maybe you just, it's not a good fit in your neighborhood or whatever. Maybe you're going to be moving soon. But it can be an advantage. I will say that, because if you're local, if you live in the area, that obviously makes, gives you a unique selling proposition when you're talking to clients, because they feel like, hey, this person knows the area, they live here, so it does give you that leg up, but you don't have to have it, right? So let's talk about a couple things about your geographic farm. And the first thing you want to look at, and this is a little bit more of like the advanced side of it, but I want to show you that it is important to think about this, is to look for a target area that has a high absorption rate. And what that basically means is you want a neighborhood that is turning over properties fairly quickly, right? And the way that you find this out is basically if you take the percentage of your community, it's a percentage. You take the community that's likely to buy, and divide it. Oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm looking one step ahead. You take your homes sold last year and you divide it by your sellable homes, right? So let's say there's 500 homes in your neighborhood, and in your target neighborhood, the one that you want for your geographic farm, and you look, and last year for the last 12 months, there was, 80 homes or so. That'd be a lot, but let's say there was 40 homes that sold in that neighborhood of five, or let's make it easy math. 50 homes out of 500 neighborhood out of 500 in the neighborhood, right? So that would make that 10%, right? Would be the absorption rate. So if you took 500, you divide it by, or you take 50, divide it by 500, that's 10%, right? 0.1. So then that would end up being 10%. And what you're looking for is a neighborhood that's above 6 or 7%, right? So if you know how many homes, and it can be a ballpark, it doesn't have to be exact, but if you know about how many homes are in a neighborhood or in a certain area, and then you can go on your MLS and kind of, make a radius around that area, or just target that area and see how many homes sold in the last 12 months. And you want sold homes. So don't just, don't pick pendings, don't take active option, don't say, homes that are for sale, literally just the sold homes in the last 12 months in that area. And you take that number divided by how many homes are total. You want that to be above 6 or 7%. And what that tells you is that there's a lot of homes selling per home, right? Because you want your marketing to be as effective as possible. Like if you're sending out 500 mailers and there's only like 2 homes that sold last year, it's a very low odd that you're going to get one of those 2 homes, right? There's not a lot of opportunity. Whereas if there's 200 out of the 500 homes that sold last year, obviously that's a bigger opportunity. And so the way that you quantify that is you use that little formula there, and you take how many homes sold last year, divide it by your sellable houses, and you want that to be above 6 or 7%. Okay. So and one of the things you can think about too is the age of the neighborhood. Typically homes that are going to be that have a high absorption rate are going to be not new neighborhoods. Like if somebody is, if you're looking to target like a new construction community, those are not your ideal communities. I mean, people, when they move into a home, they usually live in a home for 6 or 7 years, right? So if the neighborhood is like 1, 2, 3 years old, it's probably not a good candidate. Now, if the neighborhood's 6, 7, 8 years old, then it could be, right? You just need to look at the stats and see if it makes sense. If people are already starting to turn over in that neighborhood. Likewise, I mean, if it's a, first time home buyer community and it's 6, 7, 8 years old, chances are it's a good community. If it's like a really nice, kind of final home, or at least like second, third type of home community, 7, 8 years might not cut it, right? Because sometimes people are going to want to live in those homes a little bit longer. So anyways, it's just one of those things where you do want to select a neighborhood that kind of gives you the best option, right? So anyways, that's the first part, is selecting the right area. Next, and then the other thing too that you want to think about before I move on is this is all going to be dependent on your budget. But if you've got like a really big budget from the get-go, or maybe you've been in the business for a while and now you just really want to start farming more, but you've got a big budget, you can go after more than one neighborhood, or you can go after a bigger area. And when I'm talking about big, I'm saying like maybe over 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 5,000 homes if you've got a huge budget, right? But if you've got a small budget, you could stick to 200, 500 homes, something like in that range, right? So pick an area that kind of that meets that, because if you go too big too quick, you're going to find you're not going to have the money, or at least you're not going to feel comfortable spending the money on what you actually need to do to capitalize on that opportunity. So it's much better to go smaller that can fit your budget, than to go bigger and feel like you're kind of stretched thin and you can't really do anything that makes it effective, right? So that's the other part there. All right. The next thing is you've got to create a plan. You don't just go into this blindly and say, I'm going to, do geographic farming and, it's going to start working for me. And like, oh, maybe I'll circle prospect or, oh, I'm going to send mailers out, like that's all part of the plan, but make sure you have a much more detailed documented plan when you start setting up your geographic farm. So what a plan in my mind encompasses for your geographic farm is number one, what's your branding like? Like, what is going to be your brand? Maybe you already have a brand for your real estate business and you're going to just continue, to kind of leverage that brand. Maybe you don't have a brand yet. Well, if you don't, you need to have a brand if you're going to start to be effective with geographic farming. So you've got to figure out what your brand is. And is it just like, your general real estate agent brand, which is fine? Or are you going to actually make yourself even more like niche branded and target specifically your brand at your geographic farm? Right. Like, I mean, there's certain agents that, they have geographic farms in San Antonio where it's like, they are the master of Timberwood Park. Right. So, like, I mean, I've even seen brokerages spring up that's like Timberwood Park Realty, right? Like that's their entire brand is servicing that geographic farm. And so, like, that's an example of something that you might want to think about when it comes to geographic farming. I'm not saying you have to, you could just be Kyle Handy real estate agent and I'm servicing and, kind of my niche is this geographic farm. But you do want to have that thought through in your plan. Budget. What are you going to spend to geographic farm? Put it in writing. How much do you spend monthly, quarterly, annually, right? Like when are you going to spend that money? And because not every month is going to be the same. Like one of the things you'll see here later on is talking about events and hosting events. Well, you're not going to probably do an event every month, but maybe quarterly you'll do an event. So those quarters, you want to make sure that you have the money set aside so you can do an event, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that. What is going to go into your marketing and advertising strategy? I've got a couple different ideas as far as some marketing and advertising you can do for your geographic farm, and I'll talk about that here in a second. And same thing, what's your prospecting strategy? It's twofold. You got to do both, right? You got to have some marketing and advertising that's going out, and you also have to be putting, boots on the ground, doing the work, whether it's phone calls, door knocking, open houses, all the above. That's on the prospecting side. And then you've got to have a content strategy, right? Position yourself as the expert for that geographic farm. And so that's all going to fall under your content strategy. So all of these things go into your plan, right? How much content are you creating? How frequently? How are you doing it? How are you, getting it out there? Is it YouTube? Is it social media? If so, is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it TikTok? What hashtags are you going to start using? Like all of that stuff needs to be thought through. How often are you prospecting? How many hours a day? How many hours a week? How many calls are you making? All that good stuff. And so same thing, marketing and advertising, like where are you going to market and advertise to? Which mediums are you going to use? Postcards, direct or Facebook ads, there's lots of different ones. All right. Then you need to determine what is your unique selling proposition. And so there's a few different ones that you can, kind of hone in on, but you need to have something that makes you unique and stands out amongst all of the other agents that might be, serving that area or who have tried to serve that area. Because what you'll find is that, yes, a lot of agents do geographic farming, or at least they try to do, right? Like they'll send postcards out, they'll do them a couple times and then they stop. Or like they'll do an event, but then you never see them again. Or they do open houses here and there and they're kind of sporadic, but then they never, keep going with them, right? So that's what most agents do. But if you want to be successful with this, you've got to like be consistent, showing up every day, every week. People are going to know you, and it's a long-term game, right? So when you're doing that, your unique selling proposition is going to become known in their minds, almost like it's just like your brand, right? It's part of your brand. What makes you unique to this audience, to this niche, this geographic farm? So, I mean, it could be stuff as simple as, I do, call something like a worry-free transaction and have some specific, benefit of that, right? Like, what does that mean to people, right? You pay less to buy and sell. Maybe you have some kind of offer to people like, hey, if you buy and sell a home with me, I give you X% off or something like that. And more exposure for your listing. Okay. Somehow, like, let's say that you got a ton of following on Instagram or YouTube or whatever it might be, and you say, hey, look, we get X amount of exposure on your listing, or I run ads on it, and then here's the last three listings we did. Look at how many likes and shares that we got. Like something that sets you apart, right? It has to be something just that you can hang your hat on. And now, obviously, when I say unique, nothing is unique amongst every agent. You can say, well, yeah, Kyle, I saw another agent that does that. Sure. I mean, like, there's not going to be something that's completely unique to you, but like unique in the sense that not the majority of agents are doing, right? So think about that. On-demand service, like, what does that mean? Like, hey, I've got a thing where you can set up a meeting with me, within every 6 hours or something, right? Or I got a portal, I got a team that you can call and we're available, this much time throughout the day. Like whatever that means, on-demand service, knowledgeable, right? This is something that you can do through your content strategy, right? Without you even having to like say this is your unique selling proposition. You can just be the knowledgeable agent for that area, right? By creating content that people start to see. Like if you're the one that's always talking about the statistics and the things that are coming into the area, and any of that kind of stuff, and just people know you as the person to go to when they need tips or knowledge or something about that area. That's something that makes you unique as well. Helpful. Now, obviously, that's very vague, right? Like, you could be the helpful realtor, but what does that mean, right? Like maybe you just know so many people, you're networked, and when somebody needs something, you're the one they go to because they're like, hey, who do I, get my air ducts cleaned? And you're like, oh, I've got this person or I got this person. You can be extremely helpful, be overly helpful. Like you're just always looking for ways that you can help people in your geographic farm, right? And then you can hang your hat on that. I mean, it sounds funny, but after a while, and if you're doing that consistently day in and day out for months and years, people will start to know you as the helpful agent or something along those lines, right? Local. This is where I talked about it. If you live in the neighborhood, that can make you unique, right? There's some agents that try to market to the neighborhood, but they maybe don't live there. And so if you live there, that means something to people, right? Um, Video for every listing. Maybe you do a listing video and you can, hang your hat on that. You can show it, give examples of it. People will come across it on your social media, on your YouTube, all that good stuff. Maybe you do guaranteed offer, right? Like, or maybe you're partnered with a brokerage that has a platform that can make guaranteed offers on your behalf, right? Like, so you personally don't have to make them, but your broker can offer a cash deal on every single listing. If you're with a broker like that, why not leverage that? Use that. Like I know at EXP, we've got express offers. You can make a guaranteed offer for every single property. And so, I mean, why would we not want to leverage that? So, think about what you have. Think about your, if it's just you, what things can you leverage? Does your broker offer anything that you can leverage? Does your team, anything like that? So definitely, I would definitely be thinking about what makes you unique, that you can almost like a tagline. I mean, you still probably will have a different tagline that's part of your brand, but this is going to be something that just gets woven into your brand, and it's your unique selling proposition, something that gives a benefit to your geographic farm that they start to know you as. All right, we got Lori says the market is resetting in some areas. So how accurate will this be? This, I think, oh, so I think you're probably talking about from the previous slide, maybe as far as like the absorption rate and, like basically if you're using data from the last 12 months, it's still going to be accurate for, up here. I think it is, Lori. I mean, obviously, numbers change, and I mean, 6 to 7%, maybe that's not the number, in the next few months or in the next year or whatever. But what I want to, I guess, more so convey is that if you're comparing different neighborhoods, you want to go with the neighborhood that has the highest absorption rate. So like, and that will never change. Like the absorption rate number might change, but the fact that you want to go with the highest absorption rate, if you're comparing 2 or 3 or 5 neighborhoods, the one that has the best one will typically be the best. Now, that's not always the end all be all though, too. I'll put one more caveat there. Like let's say that you have one neighborhood that the average price point is, 450 and the absorption rate is 8%. And then you have another neighborhood that's like the average price is 300 or 325 and the absorption rate is 9%. For that one extra percent, you might think like, I'd rather, maybe I should just go with the 450. It's got a higher average commission. And let's say it's, a place that you feel like you can make some an impact there. It's somewhere you want to be. Then I would go after that more expensive neighborhood, the one you want to be in, even if the absorption rate's a little bit lower. Now, if it was like the absorption rate was 2%, and the other one's 10%, well, then of course, you probably are going to want to switch that up and make sure that you're just comparing and going with the one that gives you the best opportunity overall. All right. Next one, have a call to action or have multiple calls to action, right? And I think this is really important. We don't have good enough call to actions typically as real estate agents. I think that, or that we're too confusing. We try to use too many at one point in time. It's not bad to have multiple call to actions in your arsenal, but when you're making, a piece of marketing or information, a landing page, if you put more than one call to action on that landing page, chances are the person that lands on it never takes any action, right? Because now they're confused. Same thing with postcards, same thing with anything that you're trying to get somebody to do. You want to make it one clear call to action. And so for your geographic farm, um, a couple calls to action that come to mind that I've used. Number one is a free custom home evaluation, and make a point to let them know this is not automated, because I think the client knows now that like a lot of valuations are automated. A lot of people want to know, is their Zestimate accurate? That could even be your headline, right? Is your Zestimate accurate? Right. And then like, I'll give you a free custom home evaluation right now on the spot. Give me your address. I'll look it up. I'll send you all the details, right? That would be a great call to action. You're going to get people's addresses. Yeah, maybe not everybody's going to use you. Some will just use you for the free CMA, but at the same time, you're building up your database. It's quick and easy to do. You'll get really good at creating CMAs. So that could be a great call to action, right? Another one, automated marketing reports, like monthly. So this is going the other way, where like you are going to say that it's automated, but let them know like, hey, it's automated, but you're going to get a report every month that just kind of keeps you up to speed on the information about your house, right? And here in there's going to be some exchange, right? You're going to give them that in exchange for their email, or exchange for obviously their address, right? Their address and their email, most likely, because they're going to want to receive those. So you got to have a call to action on every piece of marketing that you do, but don't overdo it and say like, I'll give you a custom home evaluation and I'll set you up on an automated marketing report, or like do like the either or. Like, if you want this, then do this or do this. Don't do that. It's too confusing. Just, if you want to have two calls to actions, save that for two pieces of marketing. The next thing, new listing notifications, right? Like, so that way you can let them know, hey, if a listing ever pops up in your neighborhood, I'll let you know about it. Okay. If the other thing people want to know is, what do the homes sell for? If you want to let them like say, hey, look, every time a home sells, I'll send you an email and let you know what it sold for. Because most people don't know what their neighbors' homes sell for, right? Only we know that because we have access to the MLS. Free selling guide. Like, maybe you have an ebook, or you have some kind of, thing that you can give out that's of value. Maybe it's a magazine. Maybe it's something that's branded to you that you can offer to people as your call to action. And then this is the one that I really like. This is kind of the upsell. So like, once, like, these are all the free ones, just to get like email addresses, to get, their actual address, their physical mailing address. But then the one that you really want, after you've already gotten that information, is you want to get them set up on a free live consultation on demand, right? And what I mean by this is, basically, it could be as simple as a Calendly link, right? Like, I use a Calendly link in all of my videos that I make for YouTube, for my buyers and sellers. And the call to action is always, hey, by the way, if you're looking for a free evaluation on your home, no obligation, set up your free consultation with me. Here, go to, xyz.com/consult, right? Like, that's my call to action. And so they go there, it takes them to a Calendly link. They can book directly on my calendar. I show up on Zoom. I take them through the MLS. I show them, what their property looks like, as far as like how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage. I make sure it's accurate. I use the tax records for that. And then I say, okay, so if that's accurate, now let's go look at the MLS. We're going to pull up all the properties that have sold in your neighborhood and kind of, filter it, so that way we get the most ones that are similar to yours. And I do it just literally like a CMA right there on the spot. I get to know the person, like, hey, why are you thinking about selling? Why are you thinking about your values? You thinking about it for down the road? Or are you just trying to protest your taxes? Like, what's the deal? All right. But I get to build a relationship with that person. And that's like a really low, threshold to get to start to build a relationship with somebody. And so I always love, offering that free live consultation on demand. And then some people are going to use that, and that's your listing appointment, right? Like that's your choice. That's your chance to potentially wow them, and that becomes like your introduction to a listing appointment. You say, hey, so this is what I can see just from the computer, but for like, if you're real serious about this and you want to sell your home soon, I'd love to come out, check it out in person, because there's sometimes things that I might see while I'm there that, obviously I can't see without being there. Are you open to that? Right. And then you set the next step. So you're always just kind of taking them down your funnel, and you want to be doing this throughout your geographic farm, and people are going to start to see it happening, right, all the time. And then if they're not ready to go right now, maybe they're ready to go in 6 months. But all right, guys, feel free to, if you have any questions, make sure to throw them into the chat here. And if you're getting value out of this video, so we got a lot of people tuning in, hit that like button. I greatly appreciate it, and it means a lot, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. And if you are not yet subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can follow along as my journey the next 2 months. I'll be coming live to you guys from different spots all on the East Coast. But definitely consider subscribing if you're not already. All right. Now we're going to get into the different like marketing avenues. Okay. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the different ways that I've marketed and advertised to my geographic farm. First and foremost, I'm a firm believer in content. I think in this day and age, those who create the content are ultimately going to be the best positioned for this upcoming market. I think that, we are in store for an interesting market. I'll say that. I don't know if it's going to go up or down or sideways here these next couple years. But I will say, if you're building your brand and you're like kind of hanging your hat on content, and people are starting to, see you as the expert, especially in a geographic farm, that's going to carry a lot of weight. I think that you are going to want to be that expert for your area, because that's what's going to help separate you from all the other agents, right? So, having a YouTube channel, having a blog, anything like that is going to be number one, the most important. Honestly, it's the most important thing that I think you can do for your geographic farm on the marketing and advertising side. And I'm not talking about like generic content that you get from Keeping Current Matters or from Coffee and Contracts or any of that stuff. I mean, that stuff is great. Definitely leverage that as well. But you need to create customized content that you actually spend your time researching information, researching, news, statistics, right? And you're sharing that with people. So it's unique content that you are creating and only you are creating. Nobody else has made that before. And now, obviously, the topic doesn't have to be, 100% unique. If there's already somebody that's making, that's made a video on YouTube about your neighborhood that you want to talk about, you can still make that neighborhood video too. But the content inside of it should be unique to like the way that you present it and your ideas and your thoughts and all that good stuff. All right. The other thing that you can use is Reminder Media. If you guys haven't heard of Reminder Media, I love Reminder Media. This is it's basically makes like a custom catalog brochure for you every quarter that goes out to your geographic farm or your sphere of influence or both. But it's really high quality, and it really makes you look, kind of like the pro, right? Like, basically they allow you to kind of change up the cover, the inside cover, the first page, and behind that first page, and then the back, right? Same thing, back. And then you can put coupons in it for, local businesses, all sorts of stuff like that. You can talk about, a couple things. And then in the inside part, it is more generic, but it looks really good stuff. Like it's, tips for sellers on how to, stage their home, or, just random stuff that might be important to buyers and sellers. It's not going to be extremely niche specific to your, to your area. Now you could make the niche part of it in the very front, like where you have that first page to customize, or the cover of it, you can make all of that customized. But like the inside, but most people, when they see that, it really stands out in their mind. It's way different than just getting a postcard in the mail. People will see it, read it. I think it's very high quality. It's been one of the best return on investments that I've seen in my business. So definitely check out Reminder Media. I've actually got a link there you can check out. It's kylehandy.link/Reminder Media. If you want to take a look. The other thing is postcards, tried and true, right? Reminder Media will also do postcards for you. If you're going to go down that route, it might be just easier to keep everything through Reminder Media and have them do your postcards as well, because they'll send that brochure out, or that magazine out once a quarter, but you also want to be at least giving them physical mail once a month. So like those other 2 months, you can send postcards, and Reminder Media can do that for you. Or if you're like, hey, you know what, I'm just not ready for Reminder Media yet, maybe it's a little outside my budget. It's not super expensive, but it is, more expensive than just like sending postcards through EDDM, which is everyday direct mail, which is my next suggestion. And so, like, if you just wanted to send postcards, because maybe it's a little more cost effective, you can design your postcards on Canva. And then the cheapest way to send your postcards out is using everyday direct mail or every door direct mail. And that's through USPS. And basically, what you do there is you can go on their website. It'll show you the different mail routes. And so you can't fully say, like, I just want to target, this neighborhood. If that neighborhood happens to be, pretty much just one mail route, then it's perfect, right? And you just select that. You might have to select 2 different mail routes depending on how big the neighborhood is. But you pick a mail route, it tells you how many houses are on that mail route. It shows you a map of like where all the houses are in that mail route. And then you can send your postcards there, and it's super cheap to do it that way, right? So you might look into that. That's probably the cheapest way. But the way that I do postcards is I would do one evidence of success and one letter from the heart, right? And I would just swap them every other month. So like literally, evidence of success might be a couple homes that I sold in the neighborhood recently. It might be a testimonial from a home seller in the area that I recently sold their home. It could be anything, right? It could just be like how good the neighborhood's doing, like some market stats of that neighborhood in there, right? And then letter of the heart is basically just anything that is, coming from me as like a person. Like, have I done an event lately in that area? Am I planning to do an event in that area? Is there something going on in my life that like I want to share that's like relevant to the audience that might be getting that postcard? Like maybe we're, I don't know, doing something, a project on our personal house, right? And we somehow tie that into a spring project that people can do on their house, right? But just trying to get people to kind of relate to you better. So that's what I use, and I just flop those two. Okay, next, social media, organic and ads. Okay, and so it's important to kind of utilize both. Now, obviously, on the ads side, it's a little more difficult now on Facebook specifically and Instagram, just because you cannot target, um, a location as closely, right? I think the smallest radius is like a 15 mile radius, which that's going to be a big geographic farm area, right? I mean, if you've got the budget, then it still might be worth it, but there could be some other better methods. Like if you've got people's, contact information, you can actually create like a list within Facebook ads and, upload that list, and Facebook will try and match that to user profiles. And you can use that as a saved audience and just send out marketing to them. That's one way. You can utilize retargeting. So like if you've got and here's where I was going to talk next about a Facebook group for your neighborhood or for your geographic farm, you can basically retarget people that are in that group, or like that are checking out your website or your business page or whatever. You can retarget them, so your ads are only getting served to the people that are most likely in your niche. So that's one of the things there. But and then on the organic side, make sure that you're participating too. So like you have, you've got a group that you've created, and you've also joined if there's already a group set up for your neighborhood or for that area. Even if the group is a little bit bigger than that niche, like let's say that I wanted to do Timberwood Park and it doesn't exist. Well, number one, I would create the Timberwood Park, Facebook group, right? And then next, let's say that didn't exist, but there was like Northwest San Antonio group, right? Well, then I'll go join Northwest San Antonio group, because chances are that audience from Timberwood Park is going to be in that group. I'm just using these examples. Timberwood Park is not Northwest San Antonio, but just saying, like, just to give you an example, right? I would join that because I know a lot of my audience will be in there, and it's free for me to go in there and start to kind of dialogue and be helpful to people in there. If I'm allowed to share my content, I would share it in there. You got to be careful of that. Make sure that you're okay to do that. Have some hashtags thought out for like Instagram or for really anything just on the branding side. Of course, you're going to probably hashtag the name of the community or the farm. you are going to hashtag anything else that's relevant for that, right? And just, be consistent with that. Let's see here. We got a question. Aaron says, what kind of content for YouTube do you recommend for sellers? I have a YouTube page directed at buyers. Good question. Aaron, I would say, the biggest thing there is figuring out, what do sellers want? What do they need? What do they have questions about most often? And you can, of course, do keyword research and find that out. You can, of course, just pull your Facebook, your audience, kind of ask people like, hey, have you sold your home recently? Or are you thinking about it? Like, what questions did you have? Like, how was the experience? What'd you not know? So you can pull your audience if you've got an audience. If you don't, one of the things that I've got, and let me give me a second here. I'm gonna try and pull it up for you on my website. Is give me one second. YouTube ideas. Show you here what I've got. I think there we go. So yeah, if you go to my website, let me share my screen here for you here and make it a little bit bigger there. So yeah, if you head over to my website and you go to real estate content ideas, so kylehandy.com/blog /learn/real estate content ideas. There is a 100 real estate YouTube video ideas that you can go download. It's a swipe file. And in it, I've got all sorts of different ideas for YouTube videos. And about half of them are relevant for buyers, half of them are relevant for sellers. But if I can, let me see. I'm going to see if I can just pull that up real quick here. I know I've got it back on my site. Give me one second here. All right. You know what? Let's go ahead. I'll pull that up here at the end for you, Aaron, and then I'll share some of those ideas with you. But if you want your own copy, head over there and go grab it. You're gonna have to sign up for my email list to do it, but it's well worth it. These are definitely video ideas that I've made, and they've worked pretty well. And you can just recreate those same videos, but for your audience. All right. There we go. Lori asks, what's my website URL? My website URL is kylehandy.com. Head to kylehandy.com. All right. Okay. So let's see here. Where do we leave off? Next, ads. So going back into the ad side, ads in local businesses. Some local businesses will let you, kind of do some stuff for free, right? Like you could put your business cards in a lot of different areas, but maybe they want you to take out an ad and you just kind of see what the information is on it. Like, is it expensive? How many people do you think are going to see it? Make your analysis of if it's worth it to put some stuff up in local businesses. Maybe it's the grocery store. Yes, those things, I know they're kind of old school, and but if you're really going after like a geographic farm and you want to be known in an area, every exposure that you can get to that audience is going to become important. Now, like if you're not geographic farming and you are going to go, pull out an ad at your grocery store so you can, be on like an end cap or something like that for magazines, I wouldn't recommend it, because if that's like the only time people are ever seeing you, chances are they're never going to call you, right? But if they see you there, they're getting, magazines from you. They see that you're doing an open house in the area on the weekend. They're starting to see stuff on your social media. Well, now it's all going to start coming full circle, and that's where it starts to get really important and really relevant for you. So that's where doing some of those things are more beneficial. And so even though they are old school, they can work for you in that environment. Same thing with billboards, right? Like you could, if you got the money to spend, and when I say billboards, it doesn't have to be like a big old billboard that's up on the side of the highway. It might be just a small, billboard on the side of the road, just depending on like your area and how things are set up. But consider things like that, right? Drip emails, free. I would definitely recommend having drip emails set up with helpful stuff, though. Sending out your content as you create it, sending out new listings in the area, letting people know of sold listings in the area, valuations for their homes. So if you do have like a automated home valuation for people set up through your CRM system, then utilize that. SMS campaigns, so text messaging campaigns. You can do things where you can send out, texts to everybody in your geographic farm, as long as you got their phone numbers. So there are services that will do that. They'll pre-screen them to make sure they're not like on the, do not call or do not text list, right? Utilize Nextdoor. So that's another kind of social media platform, but especially if you're in the neighborhood, which I think you have to be, of course, on Nextdoor. unless you're doing like advertising, which you may consider that, is to, there we go, is to join Nextdoor and be active on there, be participating in Nextdoor, right, for your area. So those are all some great ways that you can utilize or to start really maximizing your geographic farm. Okay, next, prospecting. So all of that's like the marketing side, the advertising side. That's the stuff that you're going to probably spend money on. You're going to set up and just kind of goes on its own. Now, this is where you like are going to spend your time day in and day out, week in and week out, like making things happen, right? So this is the prospecting side. This is where you're going to be setting up open houses. Ideally, I mean, if that's your geographic farm, a lot of those open houses will be your open house, once you start to get listings consistently in that area. But until that time, I would certainly be texting, calling, getting to know all of the agents that have listings that are popping up in your neighborhood and trying to do an open house on every single one of them. Every single listing that comes in your neighborhood, even if it's a different agent, you should be trying to do an open house on. Um, and so, because a lot of agents, they don't want to do their own open houses. And so, you want to use that as an opportunity to brand yourself. You want to use that as an opportunity to meet people, as a reason why you can reach out to them, to send them, any kind of information, to call them ahead of time, as far as like for circle prospecting. So yeah, so open houses in your geographic farm, I'd be looking at every single one and trying to do one for all the other agents that are not willing to do one on their own listing. Circle prospecting, that's where, of course, you pull up like a service like RedX, or, you can utilize Mojo. Coal Property Resource is another good spot to get the numbers for people. But you're going to circle prospect and call people. And what do you say to them when you call them? There's a lot of scripts that you can download or look at for circle prospecting. All of them kind of, have to do with like, hey, there's a home that recently sold in your area, yada, yada, yada. Now, obviously, if you already have a relationship with the person, because maybe you've called them before, maybe you've seen them before, your script's going to be different. It's going to be more like, "Hey, how's things going, John? Have you thought any more about selling?" Be more customized, right? But in the beginning, it's more just like, "Hey, there's a home that sold down the road." Or if you have like an open house coming up, you can invite them. Use that circle prospecting as a chance to invite. Say, "Look, I'm hosting an open house on 123 Main Street next week, or this weekend. And I'd love to see you out there. Do you think you can make it even for 5 minutes?" Right? Like, just try and use circle prospecting for that. And then, of course, if you have an open house, door knocking and door hangers. I would be doing those all the time the morning of the door of your open house to invite people. So at least 10 to the left, 10 to the right, 10 across, right? So that's like 20 homes. But you might want to do more than that. If you can do more, great. Like in Texas, I mean, it doesn't get super hot. Like I was out till probably, my call right now, and it was bearable. But if you're doing an open house and it's, in the afternoon and you're trying to door knock at 1 o'clock, that's not going to happen. But if you get out there at, 9 o'clock, I wouldn't start knocking doors too early because you might tick people off. But, 9 a.m., you start knocking doors and knock doors for 2 hours, you can probably get through quite a few, right? And if they don't answer, leave a door hanger, but invite them to your open house. And I don't really like door knocking just for door knocking's sake. Like I always would do it because I had an open house that just made it easier. But some people, if you just want to door knock too, just door knock, right? That still can be effective. Attend and create events. So I like doing quarterly events for my geographic farm, and being able to, whether it's like, especially around the holiday time, I would do something, Santa Claus, for like the winter time. You can do things in the summer. You can get food trucks. You could do even just like as little as like going out and having like a bunch of donuts ready for people in the morning. You can hand out donuts as people are going to work, right? Donuts and coffee or something, right? Just thinking of little things like that, but then make sure you brand it. Make sure you got something that even if people pass you by, they see that you're the one doing it, right? They start to associate you with that area. And then pop by gifts. Pop by gifts are where you basically, do something that's kind of catchy, memorable. I've got a lot of pop by gifts ideas on my website, and you drop them off, on people's doorsteps. They're usually, pretty inexpensive. I would try and keep my pop buys to like $1 to $3 per pop by, with all of like everything included, the bag, everything that I'm going to drop off. So if you're doing a home, a neighborhood of 200 homes, yeah, it might cost you $200, $400, $600. But it's not going to be super expensive. You could do it a couple times throughout the year. So that's your prospect on it. Those are the things that your activities that you're going to be doing consistently in your geographic farm to have success. Okay. All right. Those we've got, all right. So those are our 6 ideas that we got through pretty quickly here, but we got a little bit of time. If there are any questions, go ahead and feel free to put them into the chat, and I will start answering all of your questions about geographic farm, or at least I'll try based on my experiences. So we got first, Mike Fry says, "Hey Kyle, how do you feel about real estate marketing companies that use search algorithms to generate leads for a monthly fee?" Yeah, I know it's so hard. I mean, there's a lot of different real estate marketing companies. I can't like paint that with like a huge wide brush and say that they're all good or that they're all bad, or that even some are good or some are bad. Because I mean, I think that they can work. I have heard of people doing it, but I mean, at this point, there's probably hundreds of companies that are real estate marketing for agents that have different algorithms, or they have a different pitch of why they're good. And so to say that they're either good or bad, Mike, without like knowing the exact name and then doing my own research, it would be really hard for me to like make a recommendation or say to steer clear of it. But I think with any kind of marketing aspect, the number one thing, at least from what I've learned in my experience, is I really got to know what they're doing. Like, I don't want to spend money if I don't know, if I don't understand it. So that's one thing as an agent. Don't spend money if you don't understand the mechanics behind what's going on there. And so, yes, I mean, that might take some opportunities off your plate, or maybe that slows you down a little bit because now you got to like research these things and see if it's worthwhile to pursue. But I would much rather do that and save my money and not get kind of, swindled or like waste time, thinking that these leads are going to pan out or that this service is going to pan out and then it doesn't. I would much rather know that up front, or at least have a higher likelihood of knowing that up front. Nothing is perfect. You still might try something and it still fails. Um, but I don't like to go into things too blindly. So like something that just as broad as like it's a real estate marketing company and they're using search algorithms to generate leads. I mean, that's so broad. Like, I don't know, like, what does that mean? So you'd have to look into that a little bit more. All right. Cindy asks, kind of off subject, but what CRM do you recommend? Well, good question, Cindy. I've got a few that I like. Personally, I use KV Core. That's what I get for my brokerage here at EXP. It's included. And so, of course, I'm going to use it. But in fact, I do like it. Like, I don't just use it because it's free. It's actually a really robust CRM system. It's easy to use. There's a lot of integrations. So, I mean, anything that you might want to do in your business, I guarantee you can do it with KV Core. And so anyway, so I think that's a really good one. Some other ones that I've used in the past, though, that that I still like, is Follow Up Boss. I think that's a great CRM system. You're going to still have to pair Follow Up Boss with like a website and an IDX provider. But if you just wanted like a CRM system, like the database side of it, for follow up and that type of thing, Follow Up Boss is great. Whereas KV Core is all in one. It's got the website, the CRM, it's all packaged together. So I think that's fantastic. Those are the two that I've used most recently. I've also used, I've used Boomtown in the past. I love Boomtown, but it's super expensive. But it's expensive for a reason, right? It's really good. There's a lot of opportunity, but I find that I get most of the value that I got from Boomtown with KV Core, and KV Core is a fraction of the price. It's like a third or like a quarter of the price of what I paid for Boomtown. What else? What else? I think those are kind of some Wise Agent. I hear good things. I've never personally used it, but I know some agents that are close to me that are doing good things that talk about Wise Agent as being pretty good. So those are the ones that I would look into, Cindy, for you. Hope that helps. I do have a blog on my website too that kind of goes more into in depth into the different CRM systems. So if you are looking at that, just go on my website, kylehandy.com, and check out CRM systems on there. Or if you're on Google, just type kylehandy.com space CRM systems and it'll pull up the search. All right. Monique, she says, "Oh, love the door hanger open house idea." You bet. Absolutely. Works great. All right. And then we've got another question here. I see. Do you have a sign-in form for open houses? Where can I get one? Absolutely. So yeah, I've got one on my website. In fact, I think I've got a video coming out soon, or maybe it just came out. I can't even keep up. I'm putting out 3 videos a week, and it's like, oh my gosh, it got a lot. But I definitely know on my website. Let me go here. Actually, I'll just share my screen so show you what I do when I'm searching my own website. What I do is I just go to Google, right? Go to google.com. There we go. And so if you come here and you type site KyleHandy.com and you say open house sign in sheet, you can literally search my website for anything. Here you go. The ultimate free open house sign in sheet for realtors. You come down and there you go. You got one here. I also have some recommendations for digital open house sign in sheets. So if you wanted a digital open house sign in sheet, I actually spoke to the owner of Curb Hero the other day, and really good guy. So, that's a great option if you have like an iPad and want to set that up. That's a really good one. All right. Well, there we go, guys. I think, and we will go ahead and wrap things up for today. But I appreciate everybody's time and being on here. And again, if you haven't, like, subscribe, definitely tune in for next week. And I've got some more videos coming out, even through my East Coast trip. I'll still be putting up videos. If you got any questions, if you need to get in touch with me, if you want to partner with me, check out my partner link in the top left, kylehandy.com/partner. But if you just got a question for me and you want to reach out, head over to Instagram, send me a DM on there, or email me, kyle@thehandyteam.com. Best way to get in touch. So I hope that was helpful for everybody. And if you need anything, just let me know. Talk to you later, guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.